The deepest self-sabotage often happens in the waiting room between claiming a desire and its fulfillment, as we're tempted to trade a magnificent future for immediate relief. This profound insight comes from Frank Onassi's book, The Birthright: Esau, Jacob, and the Bowl of Red, which offers an esoteric and psychological interpretation of this ancient story, viewing it as an inner map for resisting the quick fix. Onasi urges us to read this story entirely inwardly. Esau and Jacob aren't two external people to judge, they're two drives within your own mind. The field and the tent, the birthright, the bowl of red, the faintness and the transaction are all psychological states, drives and processes unfolding within a single human consciousness. Let's begin by meeting these two core drives within us, which Onasi calls the hunter and the tent dweller. Esau, the man of the field, represents the drive of the senses and the ego. This is the part of you constantly hunting in the outer, three-dimensional world for immediate evidence, validation, and results. This hunter believes reality must be chased down and captured through effort. However, this pursuit is exhausting by design. To rely entirely on outer evidence for reassurance is draining because the field is vast, and the quarry, that final proof or validation, is never truly caught. The hunter returns from the field depleted, having spent himself pursuing what cannot be captured by pursuit. This exhaustion makes him vulnerable, ready to trade anything for immediate relief. Living as the hunter means you're perpetually on the edge of selling your birthright. Jacob, the plain man dwelling in tents, is the exact opposite. He stays within, representing the quiet imagination and the inner sanctuary of the mind. This drive rests in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, preparing its reality from within rather than chasing it from without. The tent dweller isn't depleted by external chasing because he doesn't chase at all. He rests in the inner assumption, and from that inner rest, reality is prepared. He's well because he draws satisfaction from an inner world that doesn't run dry. Onasi tells us the inheritance belongs to the drive that values the inner world, that rests in assumption and isn't driven by the hunger of the senses. So the first practical step is recognizing which twin is running your life right now. Are you aggressively chasing goals, stalking for evidence, and exhausting yourself in the field? Or are you resting in the tent of your imagination, assuming the wish fulfilled and drawing satisfaction from within? The hunter is faint and ready to sell. The dweller is well and able to wait. Your task is to shift governance from the hunter to the dweller. This isn't a permanent change, but a moment-by-moment decision. The instant you realize you're chasing in the field, you can choose to come home to the tent. The hunter's voice is urgent and anxious. The dweller's is calm and assured. Learn to discern these voices and heed the calm one. This brings us to the birthright itself. In the ancient world, it meant everything: a double portion of inheritance, family leadership, the ultimate blessing. Onasi interprets your birthright as your ultimate manifestation, the full and uncompromising realization of the desire you've planted in your deeper mind. It's the entire estate of your desire, not a fragment or compromise. It's yours by right because you've assumed it, not something you earned through frantic effort. This inheritance is like a long-awaited child. It requires an unseen period of gestation before it's born into the visible world. Its slowness is a mark of its greatness, not its failure. Knowing the value of this inheritance is your first defense against selling it. A vague, abstract hope is easily traded for something vivid and immediate. So define your birthright clearly and concretely. Make it a precious, specific reality in your mind. The clearer and more valued your birthright, the harder it is for any temporary distraction to sway you. Now, even with a clear understanding of your birthright, a major danger looms: the faintness. Esau sells his birthright when he's faint and depleted from the field, not when he's strong. This faintness is the exhaustion that sets in during the long waiting period between claiming a desire and its fulfillment. Your senses, accustomed to feeding on evidence, grow tired when the manifestation hasn't yet appeared. This isn't a sign of failure, but a normal friction of gestation. However, it's a moment of great danger because faintness distorts your valuation. When depleted, immediate relief looms large, and the distant inheritance shrinks to nothing. The faint self genuinely feels the quick fix is worth more than the kingdom. To counter this, Onaisi advises tending the faintness rather than being driven by it. Nourish yourself from within, drawing from the inner tense imaginal satisfaction of the wish fulfilled. This way, you aren't left starving for outer evidence. Also, recognize that you live by two clocks, the fast, impatient clock of the senses, and the slow, patient clock of the deeper mind. The faintness often comes from confusing them. The deep mind's clock is the true one, your manifestation is on time, even if your senses scream it's late. Onaisi also warns that the faintness often deepens just before manifestation appears, making the hour nearest the dawn the most tempting time to sell. Hold fast in that darkest hour, for it may be the threshold of receiving. Into this faintness, the world introduces its offer, the bowl of red pottage. This is immediate three-dimensional gratification, the cheap, fast, sense-satisfying substitute that appears precisely when you're depleted and least able to resist. It's everything the birthright isn't. Immediate where the birthright gestates, cheap where it's vast, satisfying the senses where the birthright nourishes the soul. The pottage always promises to fill an immediate hunger but starves the soul for the future. Its appeal is entirely to the faintness, looking irresistible when you're starving. To spot the soup, test every immediate offer against your defined birthright. Ask yourself, does this align with my ultimate birthright, or is it merely a quick fix for my present anxiety? If it compromises your long-term vision, it's the soup, however delicious it looks. Onaisi warns that the soup often disguises itself as the very inheritance it would cost you, resembling the real thing just enough to fool starving senses. Look for its three signatures: it's cheap, fast, and near, qualities the birthright never possesses. The pottage rarely wins by deliciousness alone. It wins because the ego raises the stakes, crying that without immediate relief, you won't survive. Esau's cry, "Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?" is the dramatic, manipulative lie of the ego. Esau isn't dying, he's hungry. But the ego inflates ordinary discomfort into a life or death emergency to justify trading the future for immediate relief. This panic makes the birthright seem worthless, as what good is a future estate to someone who believes they're perishing now? Onaisi emphasizes that this panic also drags you into a vibration of lack and desperation, which is the opposite of the assured state needed for manifestation. To counter this, you must call the ego's bluff. Recognize the panic as a manufactured emergency, a rigged comparison, and refuse to act on it. You're not dying, you're waiting. Calm your body, regulate your nervous system, and refuse to make great decisions from within a manufactured crisis. The panic often lives in the body first, as a racing heart or tight chest. Address these somatic sensations to quiet the alarm. Also, question the ego's false deadlines. Most of them dissolve under scrutiny. Naming the panic also helps to tame it. When you hear the urgent, grasping voice, simply name it. This is the ego's panic. I am not dying, I am waiting. This creates distance, allowing you to return to a steady, assured state. The story then reaches the transaction itself. It happens swiftly, almost casually. Esau eats, drinks, rises, and goes his way. This casualness is chilling, as it shows how a whole future can be traded without the enormity of the loss being felt. Onaisi highlights the narrator's verdict. Thus Esau despised his birthright. To settle for the cheap and immediate is to show contempt for your own imagination, declaring a momentary 3D thrill more valuable than your magnificent manifestation. This teaches your deeper mind that your inner vision is negotiable, undermining all future manifesting. The aftermath of this transaction is emptiness. The soup satisfies for only a few hours, and then the hunger returns, but the birthright is gone. You're left with neither. The soup is always overpriced, its true cost is the kingdom. Knowing this cost in advance is the surest way to refuse the sale. Refusing the soup isn't enough, however. A self that merely white-knuckles its hunger will eventually break. The true remedy is not endurance, but nourishment. The tent-dweller Jacob was cooking pottage, well-fed and unhurried. The soup has power only over the starving. So, Onaisi encourages us to feed the inner hunger from the tent, to dwell richly, daily in the felt reality of the wish already fulfilled. The deeper mind doesn't distinguish sharply between the vividly imagined and the literally seen. Dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled provides genuine satisfaction, sustained by a fullness the outer world can't deplete. When you're full from the inner feast, the bowl of red simply loses its power. It's declined not by heroic resistance, but by indifference, because the self that would have craved it is already satisfied. This is how the birthright is guarded effortlessly. Willpower is a dwindling fund, but the inner feast replenishes. This feast isn't pretense, it's a real meal taken in the inner world, a sincere dwelling in your fulfilled desire until its reality is genuinely felt and satisfies. The inner feast transforms the waiting from a famine to be survived into a season that can be richly nourished. You can set your table in the wilderness, feasting on your fulfilled desire in the very midst of the waiting. Ultimately, Onaisi's central message in The Birthright is that the universe is prepared to deliver your ultimate manifestation. Your inheritance is real and coming. The only thing that can stop it is you, deciding in a faint and hungry hour to sell the whole estate for a bowl of red. So guard your birthright, knowing its value, expecting the faintness, spotting the soup, calling the ego's bluff, and above all, feeding your inner hunger from the tent. You are an heir to a kingdom. Guard the blessing through the long waiting, and at its set time, whole and uncompromised, the birthright will be yours. If you found this discussion insightful, please consider sharing this episode with someone who might also benefit from its message.